the fitness industry in general, and we have one of these locations ourselves, but there's been this big trend for HIIT, and it's tough. It's tough to do it on a consistent basis unless you're super fit. And over doing my podcast, I've met some great people, scientists, doctors, and I've been personally very surprised with how little you actually need to do to build muscle, providing you do it correctly. And there's obviously, a separate conversation into how to do that. But I was very surprised with what is how little is required to stimulate muscle growth, for example. And then you balance that with the fact that most people's challenge with going to the gym is down to the fact that it's 45-minute to an hour session, and we're going to be running on a treadmill, and we're going to be pushing sleds. So it almost seems as though like the solutions that are being provided seem to almost like turn people off. But even more importantly, they don't necessarily seem to be the best things that you would need to do for I guess, general longevity. You talked about stretching. Okay, well, now I know there's some boutique Stretch Lab and those types of things that are coming out. For strength training, I don't hear a lot about, and I'm sure there are some, but in general, if you look at the sort of headlines, I don't see anything that teaches you really a good, simple strength program that probably takes 15 to 20 minutes to kind of condition your whole body, which should be possible. And then, some kind of cardio that's not going to leave you in a pool of sweat by absolutely dying at the end of it. I don't see a lot of kind of steady cardio that I do, which I get great results with, even at my age. And so when I look at what I've done for most of my career, it's outside of my younger days when I used to go crazy on weights, but most of the time I maintain muscle mass. I've got small weight. You can see my abs. So I seem to have a decent physique, and yet I'm not doing what people are pushing. And I wonder, is it because it's not sexy just to say, look, there's this great new program. It's really boring. You don't have to do it very long. You do a little bit of weights, you do a little bit of walking, you do a bit of stretching. Is it because it's not cool and sexy, or is it, or what is it? Because tell me what you think about it.
I think part of it is what you just hit, and I love that you're going in this direction, having this conversation. I do think people want that, and I think there's been this glorification of HIIT training and high intensity, and everything today has to be harder, faster, more. And it seems to be the ideology of what we need to have better results. But I think there's also some of that in our world, in business, where people are working harder, they're doing more. The devices at our fingertips. I mean, think about a phone. Just 15 years, how much a phone can do. Everything you need is at the fingertips of your phone. And you don't need to do it, but you're working harder, you're working longer days, never turning off, you're always on, from from the time you wake till the time you go to bed, and you're just living this constant in reaction, more, better. And even the demands in work are you have to be better than the next person. There's just always somebody right behind you who's coming up. So I think there's part of the psychology of that as well. And I do believe what you said, there is this glorification, and people think that is what you need. And you are right on. The research is out there that you don't need as much exercise to have that muscle stimulation and muscle growth. And what is muscle growth? I mean, if you want to be a bodybuilder and you want to perform, and I know you had that experience at one part of your life, you're all in. There's nothing else that you're doing. You're eating and working out. That's it. And that isn't really what most people do. That's a very, very, very small, it's less than 1% of the 1% of the 1% of the 1% people that actually do that. And that's not necessarily healthy, as we talked about earlier. We're talking about longevity. How do you live longer? How do you maintain a disease-free life? And how do you live and love the life that you're living? It's spending more time, quality time, and it's doing less, and it's not always doing more. A flexibility session feels better than sometimes ever doing anything, where you just move your body and stretch it out and open it up. I've had clients come into my sessions before, and they're high intensity guys and girls where they're like, this, and that. I'm like, how are you feeling today? I always check into somebody. I'm like, how are you feeling today? Stress. I'm like, okay, well, we're going to warm up. We're going to stretch. And then I try and move the stretch from 5 minutes to 10 minutes to 50. They're like, I want to start working out. And I'm like, listen, you trust me? Am I your coach? Or you're your coach? And they're like, I know, but I want to work out. And I'm like, just trust me. And then I just ease them in. And then we're doing 15, 20 minutes of stretching. And they're like, I needed that. I feel much better. And then we go into the workout, and we have less time working out more time opening up and stretching and feeling better and just releasing stress, releasing your body. So, to kind of go to your point there, yes, you don't need as much as we think we need. Even there's one point as you were talking about that I didn't mention that I'd like to before I stop talking on this topic, is rest. Do you know, I'm going to ask you the question, do you grow when you're working out or do you grow when you're at rest?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
You grow when you're at rest, right? And most people know that, but in case you don't, it's okay if you don't, you grow at rest. You have to rest more to be able to grow. So if you're constantly, and that's why I look at sometimes these HIIT training classes, people are doing Barry's, they don't change, they actually gain weight because their body's in this catabolic state where they're not eating enough, their body's not nutrient enough, they're stressed out, their adrenal glands are stressed and they're producing too much cortisol, and they're actually gaining weight rather than losing weight, but they're working out with this, 7 days a week, high intensity training at Barry's boot camp. Like, what's your problem? Like, what's the disconnect here? And it's, again, not making you wrong, not making you feel bad, but there is a disconnect. You're not resting enough because your level of stress in your life, just the example I told you, when clients come in, I'm like, no, you're too stressed. We got to de-stress you. Let's take that stress out and let's move. Let's be in flow. Life is better when you're in flow rather than push, 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 push. What's the Newton's law? For every action, there's an opposite and equal reaction. Sometimes we push too hard, it's going to get pushed back, and your body's going to push back and resist you, and you won't see any changes, whether it's weight loss or weight or muscle tone or definition or optimal health. You'll actually reverse that and have less health and less ability to do things you like if you're doing that kind of training all the time. That's why I say 1 to 2 times a week. I'm not sure what you believe in that.
I interviewed Dorian Yates,
who,
Dorian Yates is he is.
Classic bodybuilder.
I said to Dorian, so we were talking about his training routine, and I'm going to get this clip cut up again, but I said, look, legs, his legs are enormous. I said, so how many times a week are you training your legs? And talk me through the routine. So he taught me through his routine, which is on the podcast if anyone wants to listen to it, and it's once a week. I said, once a week to get into that condition? He said, there's no way that you can recover from that type of workout if you're doing it any more than once a week. Now, obviously, he's totally the extreme, like one of the sort of biggest bodybuilders of all time, a hardcore one. But it just made me think, okay, well, you might not want legs like Dorian Yates, and most people don't do, but if you just want to actually have some condition and build some basic muscle tone, then probably if you're working hard enough, and I interviewed Tony Pearson in Vegas, he took me through a workout again. I was very surprised how not easy it was, because he was really focusing on the muscle and the contraction and the speed and the intensity of it. But I dropped my weight down to almost like half of what I normally did. I slowed the movements down to a lot, and you can build a sort of a bodybuilding physique doing way less than I think most people really think you need to, combined with good diet. And I suppose that's why you have to get a good trainer with it.
And it's quality over quantity. Right. So, but to your point, what you said there, there are different variables that you can manipulate to make the quality of the movements and exercise better. Slow it down. The tempo is so important, right? So slow, time under tension is a buzzword today. That means tempo. Slow it down. Feel the muscle. Like, we've been doing bicep curls for a long time, since we were kids, right? For probably 40 years. But I know that when you go and do a bicep curl, you can do it better today than you did it yesterday, because you tweak it, you find some nuance, you find some different way of doing it. It may not just be your hand position, it's just the focus that you have, the intent that you have, the slow, the peak contraction, however you want, to kind of do that is great. Reduce the rest periods or increase the rest periods, or the load, which is easy, which most people do. They think, I'm going to lift heavier weights. What I find challenging with the HIIT training is that people go too fast. It's all about stimulation. Go, 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 go. They go from one exercise to the next exercise to this, but they don't do any of the exercises good. They're doing them half-ass. And
they're not getting the full range.
They're not getting full range. They're going through, partial range. They want to do it because this person here is a little faster than me or in a little better shape, so I want to keep up with him or her. And, it becomes this competition. And, look, just slow down, run your own race, stay in your lane, keep your eyes on the road, and you're a road, do your best. And you don't have to compare yourself to anybody else. Fitness is a weird, not fitness, our industry and people in this world can be a weird space, a lot of comparison, a lot of insecurity. People are always, like eyeing you up. You walk into a gym and people are looking you up and down and seeing what you're wearing, what kind of exercise you're doing, like it just doesn't matter. Like, just do you. Like, make sure you're doing whatever you can, be the best that you can. Like, do what's right for you. Don't necessarily do what's right for your neighbor or the person next to you or your friends. Like, pick and choose from some of that, but just do what feels good. That's like I think a overarching theme here is like, do what's best for you and do what feels good, right? Maybe squats doesn't feel good for you, right? Then don't do squats. Maybe do a lunge, or do a leg press or leg extension. Like they used to say all the time, the leg extension machine is terrible for you because it puts so much stress on your patella tendon and it's not a functional movement. You don't really necessarily do it. But like, if that's what feels good and you can't do squats, I'd rather you do that and strengthen your quads and your hip flexors than not do it at all. So it really just depends on what is best for you. And that's what's so unique, and I'm sure you love about this industry, is that everybody is different. And that's why there's no one program that anybody has ever done that has been like the sure thing, because there is no sure thing. There's nothing out there that any one person can do or all can do that's going to be the it and forever it. When I say this is your playbook for the rest of your life, it's because this isn't the exercise in here. I don't tell you to go do bicep curls on Monday or triceps on Tuesday or chest press on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. No, I tell you the ways to do and be in your mind, to be in your body, to be in your nutrition and your lifestyle, that you can then play the game and choose the plays like you would in a game that are going to be best for you in the situation that you're in. So you're your own quarterback, you're your own captain of your life, and you make the decisions to dictate the way you need to. And if you can hire a coach, and then you have more knowledge to interact with that coach rather than that coach just giving you the information. With the book here, you have more awareness and knowledge to be able to have conversation with the coach and say, hey, coach, why is that better than this? Or why is this way better? Like asking questions and having dialogue rather than just being just a person taking the information and going to do it. You think Tom Brady, when the coach tells him to go do this play, and he's like, you know what, coach, I don't think that's the right one in this particular instance. And they have a dialogue back and forth, and then they may come to an agreement on why one's better than the other, where Tom Brady might just say, you know what, I'm not doing that one. It's not the right situation. This linebacker's lined up over here and this defensive end is over here, so I'm going to audible and change the play up. That's what you got to do. Life is a game that's constantly changing, and I keep saying life is a game because it is a game. It's like we're playing the game of life, and we just got to do the best we can and be our own best captain of our life and be proactive at doing the best that we can with what we have.